Hello, Internet. I am Pastor Recoil, and welcome to my parish. Today is the fourth Sunday of Advent, and we're going to talk about it. Welcome to Pastor Recoil's Parish, where I talk about some things you may not have heard about in church, either because it's not quite appropriate for all audiences or it just isn't something that's easy to talk about in a sermon. Today's readings for the fourth Sunday of Advent are Isaiah 7, 10 through 16, Psalm 80, 1 through 7 and 17 through 19, Romans 1, 1 through 7, and Matthew 1, 18 through 25. Today we're going to talk about Panthera. Now, I'm not talking about the metal band from the 90s with members who expressed some white supremacist and other problematic ideas. I'm talking about a guy mentioned by a 2nd century anti-Christian philosopher named Celsus. Celsus was a Greek philosopher who, in the 170s, wrote a response to a Christian writer, Justin Martyr, who defended Christianity to the Romans of the time. Celsus's response, called The True Word, survives in quotation by 3rd century Christian writer Origen, who wrote a response to Celsus's response, rather uncreatively called Against Celsus. The whole work can be found online in a couple of places, and to be honest, I'm probably completely mispronouncing the guy's name, but I'll remember to put a link in the description to the entire work of Origen's Against Celsus. So Celsus wrote, as quoted in Origen's work, that Jesus was the product of a not necessarily consensual encounter between Mary, Jesus' mother, and a Roman soldier. Celsus claims that when she was pregnant, she was turned out of doors by the carpenter to whom she had been betrothed, as having been guilty of adultery, and that she bore a child to a certain soldier named Panthera. Now, this wasn't exactly a new critique of Jesus' parentage. There's an exchange in John 8 that can be read as people implying that Jesus was illegitimate. But this is one that has captured folks' interest over the years. Jesus is mentioned sometimes as the son of Panthera in medieval Jewish anti-Christian literature. And in 1859, the tomb of a Roman soldier named Tiberius Iulius Abdus Panterus from Sidon was found in Germany. And some folk have speculated that he may have been the Panthera that Celsus was talking about, but that's kind of a fringe theory that most people don't accept at this point. I'm bringing all of this up today because in the gospel, we get the announcement of Jesus' birth to Joseph. His betrothed, Mary, was found to be pregnant before their marriage, and Joseph was going to try to quietly divorce her so as to save her public embarrassment and punishment of having committed adultery. But then an angel shows up and says to Joseph, "Hey Joseph, don't stress out about this. Go ahead and get married to Mary. This child is from the Holy Spirit, and name the son that she bears Jesus, because he will save his people from their sins." That's exactly what Joseph does, and they get married, but they don't consummate their marriage until after Jesus was born. This is a bit of a fantastical story, so of course there were questions about it. Celsus' version of events is just one that we have evidence of from the time. In our very supernatural averse time, it's easy to want to believe the simplest, least extraordinary explanation, that Jesus is actually the child of a Roman soldier named Panthera and Mary. But I do want to mention Origen's response to Celsus, because I think there's something worth taking in here. They could have falsified the history in a different manner on account of its extremely miraculous character, and not have admitted that Jesus was born of no ordinary human marriage. It was to be expected indeed that those who would not believe the miraculous birth of Jesus would invent some falsehood. And they're not doing this in a credible manner, but they're preserving the fact that it was not by Joseph that the Virgin conceived Jesus, rendered the falsehood very palpable to those who can understand and detect such inventions. Origen is quite obviously approaching this from the perspective that Jesus was born of a virgin. But I agree that of all the stories that could have been told, Celsus's version maintains that Joseph isn't Jesus' father. Something out of the ordinary happened with Jesus. Now, this argument isn't going to convince anyone who doesn't already believe in the virgin birth of Jesus, but I think it's an interesting argument nonetheless, and it's almost certainly something that you haven't heard about before. So if you want to see more content like this, check out the links to my right, or click the logo below my face to subscribe so you'll know when my next video comes out. Thank you for watching, and take the time this week to love your neighbor as yourself, especially if you don't like them all that much.